everybody, and welcome to the Soul Space. I am doing this video from home because, as you can hear, I'm a little under the weather. So I am actually pre-recording this video to be used in the Soul Space podcast on February 19th, but I'm recording it on Saturday, February 17th. So the reason why I have decided to do this video today, even though I'm under the weather, is because there's some really huge energy that I want to talk about as far as the astrology goes, which I think is impacting not only all of us personally, but all of us as a collective and throughout the world, and really some important energy to talk about. This is an energy that's coming in, huge wave of new evolutionary energy emerging, and it's in the archetype of Aquarius. So we'll talk about that. And I also want to say anybody who has been sending in their birthday, time, and place for me to do their charts on air, I will resume that next week on the show. Also, the first Monday in March, I'm going to have Carrie Ann on as my guest. So I want to welcome her, and all of you who are fans of Carrie Ann, make sure that you tune in, give her a warm welcome that day. So you'll have to forgive the way my den healing room looks right now because there's nothing on the walls. I just had the room painted a week ago, and I have not been feeling up to putting everything quite back yet. So that's why it really doesn't have the right characteristics that it usually has, that warmth that I love to bring you all into. So that'll get done too, right? One thing that I'm learning with maturity is that things come in their own time, no rushing anything, right? There's a divine timing for all of us. So I want to get right into this emerging energy. Some of it already started last Tuesday, which was the day before Valentine's Day. So if any of you, just try to find my books and my notes, my library table here is filled with everything. So last Tuesday was the 13th, and last Tuesday we had Mars and Pluto come together in the sign of Aquarius. And that was a very eruptive energy. I don't know if any of you experienced that. I'd love to hear about your experiences. You can comment below. But for many of us, things might have happened that day that was eruptive or disruptive. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. But I do have some slides that I want to show you and go into exactly what this energy is about. Now, the energy that we have coming in is a long-term energy. Pluto goes into Aquarius. It'll be there for the next 20 years. So these are things happening this week with what we have called a stellium, which is when many planets are in one sign. This week we have Pluto, Mars, Venus, and we also have Mercury heading out of Aquarius. So we've got 3 or 4 planets in there all at the same time, creating this bubble up of energy. So I'm going to go to some charts and some sharing my screen here and show you guys exactly what is going on with this kind of energy today. So first thing I want to do is give you a little bit of, you know what, before I share my screen, first thing I'm going to do is just give you guys a little bit of back, energy about what the archetypes are about. Because I think what happens oftentimes is I talk about energy, but I don't always remember to talk about where the energy is and how it's affecting us. So first thing we're going to talk about is the Aquarian energy. What is Aquarian energy? What does that feel like? What will Aquarius in your chart, wherever that is for you, whatever house, and you can get a free chart either on astro.com or cafeastrology.com. Just put in your birth date, you'll get a chart for free. And it might be helpful for you guys to start to really familiarize yourself with your charts, because then when I give you information about these things, you can look in your chart of where that energy is. And I'll show you how to do that when we go to our slides. So Aquarius energy is an energy of emergence. It's an energy of quickening. It's a fast energy. It's an energy of newness. It's the future. Once we hit Aquarian energy, or we have transits or planets in Aquarius, we're no longer thinking about the past. Like, that's done. Now we're like thinking future, what's going to happen tomorrow, right? What do we want to create? Aquarius energy is also an energy of pioneering spirit. It's an energy of science and technology. That's why you're going to see a lot of artificial intelligence and tech come in the next few years. But mostly the intention of Aquarian energy is to come in and rapidly decentralize or break apart energy. Now that might sound volatile and dangerous and, kind of scary. It is. It's ruled by a planet called Uranus, and Uranus is the sudden awakener. It's known as some energy that comes in unexpectedly. When we're having Uranian transits, we can never understand what they're about until afterwards we go back and reflect on it. Because Uranian energy happens that quickly. It's unexpected. It's so fast. We're in it and we're like, oh my God, where am I? What just happened? So we can't really synthesize it or integrate it until afterwards when we can go back and reflect on it. So you would ask yourself, well, why would our soul create this kind of energy in our chart? Or why would our soul have the intention to have Uranian or Aquarius energy? Well, it's very simple. It's for individuation. Uranian energy, Aquarian energy comes in and breaks something apart, busts something up in order that we have to understand where our individuation is, where we are separate, where we have meaning, where it'll end something and culminate something so that we have to go back and look at it and realize there's only one new way forward. There's only a new emergence that'll occur from that energy. That's why we have Aquarius energy in our chart. So whatever house Aquarius energy is in for you, that's probably where you've had a lot of decentralization or destabilization, or you've had energy busted up and broken apart so that new things happen, right? It's almost like, if I had to give an example, like if you were planning this really beautiful Valentine's Day with your significant other, and then last Tuesday when Mars and Pluto came together in Aquarius, you all of a sudden had this blow up out of nowhere. And now everything's in jeopardy and you don't even know if you have a relationship, never mind a date for Valentine's Day. But it causes you to go home and reflect on, okay, what's the worst case scenario if this thing is over and ends? All right, so maybe I have to rely on myself a little more, or maybe my energy really is one where I've been afraid to be alone, but now I'm forced to do it. And you know what? It's really not so bad. I'm a lot stronger than I think. Well, you just individuated yourself through the crisis. That's Aquarian energy. So wherever that falls in your chart, whatever house it falls in, that's probably been a pattern. So I'm going to go and share my screen now and show you guys what's happening in Aquarian energy right now for everyone on the planet. It will be individual for you depending on where it is in your individual chart, but we're all having this transit. We're all having this energy come out. And I'm going to talk about how that also affects everyone in the collective as well. So I would actually invite all of you to like and share this video if you think it resonates with you. I think it's very important for a lot of people in the world to hear this, because I'm going to give you tips on how to not only deal with this energy, but also to try as best we can to expect what is unexpected, which I know is nearly impossible to do. So Zencuda Soul Space is every Monday night at 7 o'clock on all social media, all podcasts. You can listen to it on Spotify after the broadcast. We're even on channel 151 on Cablevision on Fridays at noon. And you can watch me on my own YouTube channel, Zencuda. I really, encourage you to subscribe to that because we have a lot of really great videos. So I believe that our evolution is really through our astrology chart, and that it's really the mirror to our soul. So I really encourage you all to follow along with me. And, I'll be doing some more work with helping you to understand your charts. So in the months to come, really going to enjoy our time together. So Aquarius energy. So Aquarius energy is ruled by Uranus, which we talked about, that planet of sudden, unexpected things. Uranus is the lightning in the room, is what we call it as astrologers. Why? Well, because it's known as the Great Awakener. And a lot of times when Uranian incidences happen or Uranus energy is in play, it'll feel like lightning or a lightning bolt. For instance, you're in a dark room. There's a storm raging outside. You don't know what you're going to do. You're in a little bit of a panic. You can't remember where you left the candles and the matches or the flashlight. And then all of a sudden, a lightning bolt will come and flash through the room, and you'll suddenly see the flashlight on the table where you couldn't remember where you put it. Well, that's an awakening. You suddenly see what you need to see in order to make things better. That's why we call Uranus the Great Awakener and a bolt of lightning. It's that flash of awareness, that aha moment that you get. It's fleeting and then it's gone. You're not really sure what just happened. But then when you go back and reflect on it, you realize the awakening, the aha moment, the wisdom that you can use for your evolution and your soul's growth and your consciousness. which gets back to that Aquarian energy's intention. It's to break things apart, not only for your own individuation, but to raise your consciousness so that you are more individuated, relying on yourself, and you're a stronger individual. Your soul becomes stronger in that energy. So traditionally, Uranus rules the 11th house. Now, that will be different in everyone's chart, unless you're an Aries rising, then it may be in your 11th house. But Uranus is traditionally in the fixed zodiac. It is the 11th house. It's also a fixed sign, which means it's a very dense energy, and it's air, which means that it's invisible. You can't see it. It's just air. It's refreshing when it happens, right? When that lightning shows us where the flashlight is, we get refreshed. So Uranian energy is an energy of breaking apart, decentralization. It's also the journey from innocence to competence, because during that decentralization, we have to find our way. We have to find the way to become competent enough to rely on ourselves, to find our individuation. It's also disorienting. A lot of times the Uranian transit can feel isolating. We feel like we've been suddenly plunged into a new place, like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, and everyone's a stranger and we're all alone. We can often even feel with Uranian transits like we've been exiled to a certain area. Like maybe you've had some identity crisis about your sexuality or your role in your life. And now when this Uranian moment occurs and your identity is shattered, you feel like you've been exiled to this place, and maybe you're no longer a mom or a sister or a daughter or a spouse, right? I know I felt like that after a divorce from a very long relationship. It was almost like I had been exiled to this strange land, and I didn't know who I was because everything I identified with was completely gone and blown apart, and I was completely disoriented. So that's why Uranus is rapid change. It's a fracturing. A lot of times also with Uranian energy, we can feel frozen or detached because Aquarius is a very much a detached energy. Those of you who have Aquarius energy heightened in your chart or have an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, you have an ability to detach from a lot of things. And sometimes that's a good thing because it enables you to actually, work in a crisis. But it's also a bad thing because you may find it hard to get in touch with your emotion. And so in this energy, when we have so much Aquarian energy coming in, it really can feel like we're underdeveloped or we're frozen in time, like we just can't get in touch with our emotion. We can't feel our inner landscape. And so it's very, very important for us to ground in earth and be ground in reality and present moment throughout these next several months, because I'll tell you that Aquarian energy can really make us like feel like we're floating or like we're being, really want to be heightened or higher or, towards the sky. So what inevitably Uranian energy does is it brings us to a deeper meaning, it recenters us, and it brings us to a new trajectory with a broader scope. Just like those examples that I gave you, when we're in crisis or something happens very rapidly, now we're plunged into this new place, right? Just like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, what did she have to do? She had to go and find herself a whole new way to be, all new friends, all new things to be acclimated to, a new reorientation, right? She had to find a new identity and then took her journey and her quest. So also Aquarian energy is science and technology, it's community, it's innovation. So now what planets do we have in Aquarius? So this is a current chart of the moment. And as you can see in this chart, as I will show you, down here on the bottom, you see this is Capricorn right here. You can see my cursor. This is Capricorn right here. And Pluto just left Capricorn and now it's in Aquarius. And you see this little 0 over the P for Pluto. That means it's at 0 degrees of Aquarius. This is the symbol for Aquarian energy, this thing that looks like water, because Aquarius energy is known as the water bearer. It brings the water. It's refreshing. It's happens quickly. So right now we have Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius. We have Venus at 4 degrees of Aquarius, and we have Mars at 5 degrees of Aquarius. Why is this significant? Because when you have this jumble up of planets in Aquarius energy, which is known as a stellium, and we also have here Mercury in Aquarius. Mercury is coming into Aquarius, fast going out of that sign, and fast going out of that sign into Pisces. And we also have the sun now at 1 degree of Pisces, the sun just leaving Aquarius. That's a whole big Aquarius sandwich. So when we look at Aquarius energy and those 3 planets being in that sign, we have Pluto, which is our desires and our subconscious. Pluto is a planet that brings things to the surface that have been hidden. It's like the unresolved emotions, our triggers, the things that make us feel inflamed if someone touches. That's Pluto. It brings our desires, our subconscious fears, all of the things that are hidden in the vaults. Pluto likes to bring to the surface. Why? Because it wants us to heal them. And then Venus is the next planet that's sitting there right alongside Pluto in Aquarius. And Venus is our values. It's what we not only cherish, but it's also the way that we think and what we feel about certain things, our belief systems, but it's also our worth. Venus shows us how we like to be nurtured in order to feel like we're worth something. And Venus also shows us how we validate ourselves and others and show our own worth. And then the third planet that we have in Aquarius is Mars. Now, these three planets pack a powerhouse all on their own. But when they're all together, especially with Mars in the mix, it's a lot of energy. Because Mars in Aquarius is let's go. It's action. It's like, take your desires that have been hidden. We're going to bring them to the surface. We're going to make it erupt. We're going to make you really look at what you're worth, what you really value, what has up until this point formulated how you are valuing yourself and what you think you are worth. And is that true? Or is it just conditioning? And Mars says, let's go. Let's take a look at this. And then this is all ruled in Aquarius by the planet Uranus, which is sudden unexpected eruptions. So what do you think is going to happen, guys? Well, I'm going to tell you. Those three planets in Aquarius are going to come in and create a situation and an eruption which you can't predict. What we can do is ground ourselves in earthly energy and really try and be more and more present in the moment. Because remember what I said, Aquarian energy is going to take us high. It's going to make us disembodied. It's going to make us unfeeling and detached. It's going to make us think things are really great ideas that really aren't if we really ran them by our heart and really ran them by our own somatic experience, our own soul space. So it's really important more than ever with this powerhouse of planets in Aquarius, and Pluto's going to be there for 20 years. So it's really important that when we're in these times, the next few months, that we have a regular practice where we are grounding ourselves in the earth, grounding ourselves in an energy where we can go into ourselves and feel our emotion in our own way, process those emotions, those fears, those conditioning, process those things to be integrated into our soul for our own evolution. Because these planets are coming in and they are going to create spontaneous combustion in order for that to happen. So we want to be a little bit more in control if we can, so it goes a little more gentle. So let me finish off what this energy is all about, because it can be a little complicated and there's more about it. It's not just the Aquarian energy over the next few months. So I'm going to share my screen again. Thanks for being patient. So now we've got all this fixed energy. We've got all these three planets in Aquarius. And then what happens is there's another part of the chart, which is Aries energy. And Aries energy is usually in the first house, traditionally in the zodiac. It'll be someplace different, more than likely in your chart, unless you're an Aries rising. Aries is ruled by Mars. Now, what were we just talking about where Mars is? Mars is in Aquarius, along with Pluto and Venus and Mercury just leaving there, ruled by Uranus, boom, boom, boom. And now we have a couple of planets in Aries that are also playing into this dynamic, which I'm going to go about in a minute. Let me explain Aries energy first. So Aries energy, I have here a picture of me holding an acorn. And I'm holding this acorn in front of this beautiful oak tree because that oak tree started as this little seedly acorn. So Aries is the seed. Aries is the seed of the emerging energy that's being explosive and erupted in Aquarius. So those three planets all doing their work right now in Aquarius are also being triggered by Chiron, which is where our wounds are, which is in Aries, and our North Node, which is in Aries. Chiron is the place where our wounds are. The most vulnerable wounds that we have, that we come into this lifetime with, are signified by the planet Chiron, which is in Aries right now. And the North Node is also in Aries right now. The North Node is like our North Star. It's the arrow in the chart that's your soul pointing to, hey, look over here. This is our intention for your life. This is where you're supposed to go. When Chiron and the North Node are together in Aries, it is an absolute signature of a new emerging evolutionary time for everyone on the planet. This means, what are we becoming? Where do we take up space? What is our presence? Where are we powerful? This is completely new beginning. So can you see now why those 3 planets in Aquarius with that emerging evolutionary energy is pulling things up from your depths and making them erupt? Because Chiron and the North Node in Aries want to give us all this emerging brand new start, new beginning, healing, etc. I have a picture here of me. I was actually, when I went to the Caribbean a few years ago, I decided to parasail. And I have a tremendous fear of heights. I don't like my feet not touching the ground, but I decided to do this because I was going to get my soul free. And as I stood waiting on the beach for this boat to come and take me out to parasail, I looked down, there was a clothespin in the sand because the dudes had the motorboat with the rigging for the parasailing was using clothespins to hang up like the towels and life jackets to dry and stuff. So I just bent down to pick up this clothespin as I'm waiting for the boat to come back, and I'm ruminating in my mind, oh my God, I must be crazy. I should not be doing this. Why am I doing this? I should know better than to even try to parasail. It's going to be terrifying for me, but I want to get my soul free from fear. I've decided I'm going to live a love-based mentality, no more fear. I have to conquer this. And I bent down and I picked up this clothespin, and on the clothespin was written, free soul. And I knew I was supposed to be in that moment. That's an Aries energy, completely new, emerging, validating your soul's intention. It's an ignition, it's a birth, it's courage, it's warrior, it's valor, it's freedom. It's the seed of your evolution. So can you imagine these energies of Aries working with Aquarius right now? It's going to be absolutely fabulous and fantastic. Easy? Hell no. Predictable? Absolutely not. But gorgeously beautiful in the end, if we do a few things right. So here in the chart of the moment, just like I showed you before, Pluto's at 0 degrees Aquarius, Venus is at 4 degrees Aquarius, Mars is at 5 degrees Aquarius. They're all talking to each other there at Aquarius saying, hey, what do we got to do to get this soul on the path here? What's holding this person back? What are they not looking at? What do we need to erupt on this soul so that they have to be forced to look at this and take care of it? And then you got this energy over here where this V is. It looks like a V. It's actually for a ram's head because Aries is the ram. This is Aries energy. And here at 16 degrees, we have Chiron. And this little thing that looks like a hook is the North Node at 18 degrees. And they are right here having a conversation. And Chiron's saying, you know, I think they have some wounds they never really healed, and they're holding them back because they keep trying to preserve themselves from getting hurt again. And, you know, North Node here, we want your soul to really progress and go forward and go into the territory it's supposed to go in, but you keep holding it back because you're so afraid to get hurt again because you got this wound you're not healing. And then back here in Aquarius, Pluto and Venus and Mars are saying, yo, we need to erupt this energy so that they heal it because there's a whole new way that they need to be in order for their soul's intention to emerge. And that's what's going on in Aries. But wait, there's more. So we've got Chiron in the North Node in Aries, wounds, and our soul's intention coming together. We've got Pluto and Mars and Venus in Aquarius saying, let's blow this sucker up so that we get it cleared once and for all. And then we have some energy in Taurus squaring that stuff in Aquarius. What does that mean? Well, the stuff in Taurus squaring the stuff in Aquarius means it's a conversation of tension. Taurus is where that self-preservation that I just spoke about comes in. That part of us that's like, oh, no, I don't want to go there. I'm not giving all of myself. I'm not going to like talk to a stranger. I'm not going to like travel. I'm not going to do this, that, or whatever it is because I'm scared. I was hurt once doing that, or my mother conditioned me never to go out in the rain. Something terrible happened, so I cannot go out in that rain, right? It's all that stuff is Taurus. Now, in a typical zodiac where Aries is rising, Taurus is in the second house. For you, it could be anywhere. Any house. I happen to have Taurus in my sixth house, which is why I probably got sick as this was all happening because it wanted to bust that up for me. But because the sixth house is health, that's where Taurus is in my chart. But anyway, I digress. So Taurus is a fixed earth energy. Taurus is self-preservation, it's survival. It's where we have been taught that something spoiled or lived out its life expectancy or decayed and it's no longer stable and we need to let go of it and we need to not be around it. Taurus is where our own resources lie. Now you see in this slide a picture of me hugging a tree. Taurus is also our core values, what we think a community should be, how we collaborate in partnership, our accountability with ourselves, our alignment, the way we seek innovation, right? Taurus is that earth energy. So you can see how this aligns with the planets in Aquarius. We talked about Venus being there and really being our values. Well, Taurus is ruled by Venus. That's why they're all in a conversation. So you have all those planets talking. And then right now in Taurus, we've got, if you look at the Taurus part of this chart, over here, where you see this thing that looks like a bull with horns, because Taurus is the bull. This is Uranus. Remember, we talked about Uranus a lot today because Uranus rules over here, Aquarius. And this is Uranus ruling Aquarius, right? We've got Venus in Aquarius ruled by, we've got Venus in Aquarius here, which Taurus rules, right? And then we've got Mars, which is ruled by Aries, which we have Chiron and the North Node here. So these three parts of our chart, these three houses are all talking to each other wherever they are in your chart. So that's the conversation they're having, is the Aquarian energy is saying, what do we need to blow up? And what unresolved emotional issues is this person still got buried that we need to bring to the surface so that they have to reevaluate their value system and their values for themselves. Take action. Remember, Mars says, let's go. New energy emerging, new evolutionary content. Want to go feel what this feels like. Just like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. She didn't sit there in her house that was collapsed, right? She started walking down the yellow brick road to find something. That's what we need to do. We need to find the evolution. Then you've got this beautiful energy in Aries saying, I do have wounds. They're deep here, but the North Node's coming into Chiron right now, like a beautiful energy to pull me forward into my destiny. What do I no longer need to be afraid of? What do I need to look at and take out and unpack? And then the energy of Uranus in Taurus comes in to suddenly throw the lightning on the room, those aha moments, which will come as eruptions. And Jupiter is there. This is Jupiter right here at 9 degrees Taurus. Why is Jupiter there? Well, my dear friends, Jupiter is expanding all this energy and amplifying it out into the collective of the world. So what does this all mean for us? Well, basically what it means is that Jupiter is expanding the energy. Uranus, which rules Aquarius, is breaking it all apart because it wants us to awaken. It wants to create a series of unexpected eruptions so that we raise our consciousness and come into a place in our own individual lives where we have to face our own individuation. All of these fears and all of these unresolved emotional issues that we have are actually happening based on conditioning that we have. Something someone told us once, something our upbringing showed us once. So the interplay of all these energies is going to come into our lives right now as this. Think about what's coming up for you. Maybe something happened last Tuesday on the 13th that you can go back to and say, wow, that happened and it was about this. But mostly, if you can, during your quiet moments, your walks on the beach, your walks in the woods, your walks in the forest, your moments when you are wondering about quietude, about your life, think about your childhood and think about the things growing up that conditioned you. Think about your first memory. Think about your mom or dad or whoever raised you, your brothers, your sisters. What was it like growing up in your home? What were the constant repetitive themes? And what from those themes have you taken forward that now form who you are today and who you bring into relationship. And when I use the word relationship, I don't just mean your relationship with other. I mean your relationship to everything in the world. Do you come into relationship with fear? Do you come into relationship with security? Do you come into relationship with insecurity? Do you come into relationship being afraid to speak? Do you come into relationship with an expectation that's unrealistic? Where did all that come from? Because those are the things that will erupt. And wherever that is in your body, in your heart, in your soul space, this is an energy where your soul will intend, the universe will intend to cause that lightning strike in order for it to come to the surface so that you can look at it, see it no longer fits into who you really are, so that you can individuate yourself without the conditioning of who you really are. Because your soul's intention isn't in that conditioning. Your soul's intention isn't in the illusion of what your identity is supposed to be. Your soul's intention is in the authenticity of what you and your soul know with Creator alone, no other influence. That's authenticity. And that's why all this energy is emerging. Now, like I said, will it be easy? Hell no. Will it be gentle? That depends on how you're living your life. Are you aware? Are you ready to go into those hidden places, those most vulnerable places? Are you ready for the new evolutionary emergence that is happening for the whole world? Because it's happening. So now what will happen when Uranus starts to make these eruptions is there may be some tremors in our personal life, maybe big eruptions, who knows, depending on what your soul's intention is for you. That's individual for every one of us. But it will also happen out in the collective. And what will happen out in the collective is not just that you'll see people being disruptive and damaging, and these eruptions are going to happen because structures and things and emotional dynamics that are not been, integrated, not been responded to, are going to come out. It's up to us to try and get a hold of ourselves so that we have control. Is it going to be possible in some circumstances? No, I'm telling you that right now. It's going to be completely unpredictable. But what will also happen is we don't just have, like I said, relationship with other. We have relationship with everything. We have relationship with our structures, our belief systems, our religions, our schools, our governments, right? Our communities. So now what's going to happen is those are also going to have little eruptions or big boom-booms. And they're going to react to our disruptions and interruptions and eruptions. So there's all this reaction that's going to go on in the collective. Tremendous reaction. Think volcano, earthquakes, all of it. Because we're in a new emerging evolutionary time. And I know it sounds like a lot, and it is, but the way to deal with it is, like you saw me in that picture, you got to hug a tree. I know that sounds crazy, and I know that sounds contrite, but we have to ground ourselves in the reality of what we are and ground ourselves in the authenticity of what the soul space is. And I know this is a heavy video for a lot of people, but I felt so compelled to do this video. And I know it's different from most of my soul space videos, but I felt so compelled to do this because the word has to be given out to the collective. If we don't start to ground ourselves in reality and in the energy of our own authenticity and our individuation within ourselves and what we're really feeling. This is somatic. This is, to use a word of my mentor, salient. This is all about emotion. But Aquarius energy is an energy that sometimes wants to take us out of that. And if we allow that to happen, that's when things like AI and technology and things that probably really aren't a good idea if we ran them through our heart seem like such a great idea in our head. And that's why we have to get back to this heart. And the way we do that is grounding in nature, spending time in silence, allowing those unresolved places, those triggers, that inflamed area of our life, when it is touched and pressed, allow ourselves to do it so that we are going into our private, recess, vulnerable places and allowing it to be revealed on our own terms, not in a trigger of disaster or a trigger of damage or a trigger of explosion, because that's what the vulnerability led up to. If we keep trying to push down these vulnerabilities, they're going to erupt all over the place. So I urge you to go to your vulnerable places, allow them to reveal what your soul's intention is for you in your life. Because when we allow ourselves to be in that vulnerability, we're allowing ourselves to move forward and emerge into a new evolutionary time. It's only when we crush and repress and detach from that vulnerability that we are not emerging correctly. We are not going into our evolutionary intention. We are not really feeling our soul's intention for us. That's the energy. And I just want you all to know that I'm going to be with you here to guide you through this energy as your astrologer, as your psychic intuitive, and hopefully as someone who inspires you to do your own soul work on a level that's right for you, in a place that's right for you. And don't let anyone influence that for you, change that for you, or condition that for you, but allow your true self to emerge beautifully and holistically in these months to come. Thank you so much for spending time with me in the soul space. I love each and every one of you. I'm sending love out to you. Hopefully, I'll be back in the studio next Monday and feeling better. And I can feel your prayers out there already. And I'm sending prayers to all of you for a gentle 2024. But I know at the end of this year, we are all going to be so different than we are right now. So if you want to go deeper in any of these meetings for you in your own personal chart, reach out to me. I do private readings. And you can also follow me on Zencuda on YouTube, Zencuda Official on Instagram, and Zencuda Soul Space on Facebook. Thanks so much. I'll be back in the Soul Space next Monday night at 7 o'clock. Bye-bye.